Hello to our friends in Tennessee. My name is Philip Rulo with Rultract, and I'm going to more quickly this time go over the setup of the panniculectomy retractor that we are going to use on Friday for the case. Now, the equipment's going to come into the room in 3 trays, ideally marked 1, 2, and 3. So the first tray is going to have the clamps on it. So you're going to take the clamp, put it on the bed rail at about where the crease in the pannus is, usually between the bottom of the rib cage and the hip, but the surgeon will decide where they want the equipment set up. Make sure that your jaws are open all the way on your clamp before putting it on the bed rail. Go ahead and set it on the rail. I usually put the top of the jaw on the rail, then I rotate it in, squeeze it together. I squeeze the jaws together and I hold them together, and then I use the handle to tighten the jaws. So squeeze the jaws, hold the jaws, turn the handle, and tighten this as tight as you can get it. It needs to be very tight on the rail. Then on the other side of the bed, you're going to put the other clamp on. Now, the idea is to put this directly across from this clamp, because these two systems need to be joined over the center of the table. So go ahead and eyeball it the best you can. Put this clamp on the same way. Make sure that the jaws are opened all the way before putting it on the table. Go ahead and put the top jaw on the rail and kind of rotate it in and look across the table. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be very close. Now squeeze those jaws together, hold them together, and tighten your knob. Tighten it as tight as you can get it. Now we're going to put the top posts on. Top post just simply drop onto the bottom post clamp, kind of turn it a little bit, make sure it's properly seated and it does not rotate. Now we're going to put the coupler bar on. This is what's going to connect the two systems over the center of the table. This most likely will not be in a tray. It'll be wrapped individually because it's too big to fit in most of the trays. So what you're going to do is take this piece and use it to join the two systems over the center of the table. In order to do that, you will need to put these tubes on top of your top post. So go ahead and set them on, and they just rotate freely. Now you're going to take your coupler bar. You have to be very careful to do this. Most likely you're not going to be standing at the end of the table. So what you'll need to do is hold it securely. Maybe have somebody on the other side of the table holding it as well. It's not that heavy, but we have to be sure that we don't drop it because it's the only one we have. And there's a patient under it. So go ahead and slide that on to the tube. And now the other person on the other side of the table will take it and slide it onto their tube. So if you're over here, maintain a grip on it to make sure it doesn't slide off. The person on the other side of the table will take it and just slide it onto their tube. And then there are alignment marks that you will align it up with in order to be sure that it's where it's supposed to be. And then once it is, go ahead and turn your lock knobs to lock it into position. And once those knobs are locked down, the system is secure over the table. Now we're going to move to tray 2. And in tray 2, you're going to take this extension and just drop it onto the center. There are lock knobs on all of these pieces. We have to make sure that they're opened before it will go on to the post here. So go ahead and just drop it on and then tighten your lock knob. The center extension is long because we need to reach out further over the center of the table. The extensions on the sides are shorter, and I will be in the OR to walk you through this. This is just to give you a brief overview. So go ahead and drop those on, lock them into place. Now you can see that the posts here are a lot longer than it looks like they need to be, but there are times when we need to have additional height. So we could actually raise this to have additional height if the pannus is extremely, or the patient's extremely large. Now we're going to go to tray number 3. In tray number 3, you have what's referred to as your ratchet assemblies. These are what is going to be used to elevate the pannus. So you go ahead and put these on to each one of your extensions. You want to make sure that the handle is facing out, because it's easier for the surgeon to manipulate, or the assistant to manipulate the handle if it's facing out. If it's facing in, they have to reach around to grab it, so we don't want to do that. Open your lock knob all the way, slide this on, push it all the way back, lock it into place. The ratchet that goes onto the center extension, you can have the handle going either direction. It depends on where the surgeon wants it, or I guess what's easier to manipulate. So you go ahead and put that on. You can put this one on the center and push it all the way back, or you could put it at the very end. It doesn't matter. So initially we're going to put it right in the middle, and then you go ahead and tighten your lock knob down. There are alignment marks on this center extension where you're going to align this gearbox to make sure that you can tighten your lock knob down into what we refer to as detents. So you can see those. They're not holes because they don't go all the way through, so they're detents. Your lock knob locks into those detents so the gearbox doesn't slide off. And again, I will be in the OR to walk you through this. Now, the third ratchet is going to go onto the other side, and you want the handle facing out once again. Make sure your lock knob's open, slide it all the way back, tighten your lock knob down. Okay, now all three of these are in position. Now what we're going to do is put on our AHAB bars. These bars are what you're going to lower to the pannus, and then you have towel clips, a number of towel clips that are in the pannus. Those towel clips are gathered up, and then they're put into our snap clips, and then we elevate the pannus. So we have to be sure that we have multiple numbers of towel clips in the room. So you go ahead and put your AHAB bar on each one of these snap clips. There will be an extra AHAB bar in the tray in the event that it gets contaminated. There are times when these will swing outside of the sterile field and bump somebody, and then they would be contaminated. So we always bring an extra one, or if somebody drops one. All right, so now everything is into position. Just switch your reversing lever on each one of these ratchets, and you can lower this down to the pannus to begin retraction. And that is it. So that is how you set the Rultract up for the panniculectomy case.